Charmagne, I will not hold you up any longer. I'll throw it to you. And you're muted. There we go.
All right. So I was asked to talk about what we're doing now about it, why we come to Iosepa every Memorial Day. I myself have been coming to Iosepa for 37 years. I've gone through a lot of things in my life, and I've learned a lot of things about those people there. And the thing that keeps me going is because I look at their lives and their faith and their courage and their perseverance. And I know I can do anything because my kupuna did that. So I go every Memorial weekend, and like Ben says, often when I hear him talk, if you're going to go on Memorial Day, you'll be there for cleanup, because the actual celebration is on the Saturday of Memorial Weekend. So we hope you will join us, because it is a life-changing experience for many people. As you know, the people all left by 1917, and the town pretty much went to dust. But the iwi of our kupuna were still there. The bones of our people were still there, and so it will always be there. And in our culture, we take care of those iwi, because once they're in the ground, it hallows the ground that is there. It'll never change. It'll always be a place for us. We also believe that once they are in the ground, they support us when we come to care for them. They support us in the things that we do. And so even though quite some time passed, it couldn't quite get out of the minds of a lot of people who lived in that area up there. And so between the place and the people and that remembering, it brought up the saying of our Queen Liliuokalani, mai po'ina oia'u, do not forget about me. And I have that same feeling when I go to Iosepa, that we can't forget who we are, because we are someone special. We are special. And so Iosepa was so unforgettable that in 1955, on Pioneer Day, they had a luau held at the Alf Callister Ranch. Alf was actually born at Iosepa, and he got a ranch there after Iosepa was closed. But always loved the Hawaiian people. So when they approached him about it, they decided to have a luau for their Pioneer Day in 1955. And they built a Bowery similar to the ones that they built at Iosepa, the grass, and they had the luau in that. And they talked about continuing to do that every year to celebrate the Pioneer Day, but it somehow got lost in the shuffle. But again, the people remembered, and the Grantsfield wards started going up there and cleaning and trying to fix things up the best they can. When I very first went, there was nothing there but graves. And the purpose of our going was to go and clean the graves. And once we cleaned the graves, we would get together and we would share our food and talk and play music and enjoy ourselves. And that's kind of where the beginnings of the celebration came from. In the following year, they had a fundraiser luau at the Grantsville Stake, and they used it to put up the fence that you see around it now, and to repair the graves the best that they could and remove the old wood. A lot of the graves were surrounded by wooden fences. Some the corner posts were very nice, but they were basically slat fences. So a lot of those had to be taken down because they had been destroyed in the elements and with the cattle running through that area and stuff like that, and mostly the elements. So they put up this fence, and that prevents that from happening anymore. But it still gets overgrown, so it still needs care, and that's one of the reasons the Iosepa Historical Association was established in order to maintain and care for those graves. Then in 1977, a lot of people ask about this. There was a scouting project, and they put in those paving borders around the graves. That has really helped to identify where they were, and they were able to establish that from the way the rocks were piled. And so we don't know exactly, and we don't know who in a lot of the situations, but we know we've tried to identify their spaces so that we can come and take care of them and decorate there and honor them for the lives that they lived there. So 1984 was my first time going. I came like they did to gather with the saints, and it was really exciting to have temples all over the place. So I in my heart, I could feel what they were feeling when they were able to come here. So, and I've come every year since, and I've had a lot of things go on in my life, but every time I can recenter myself when I go there. And so it's a really special place for me. And then in 1989, we had the centennial celebration, the 100th year since they came there. And that's when this statue was dedicated by President Hinckley, and it was a beautiful experience to listen to his recount of Utah history and how we fit into that. Because a lot of people don't go to Iosepa because they think all of these bad things, and yes, those bad things did happen because that was what was going on at the time, not just for us, but everybody. And they talk often about, oh, they were made to come up here from a beautiful paradise, but paradise wasn't all that great at that time because of all the opposition in the government, and that we even hear about the lepers that were there. And there were lepers in Hawaii, and they were put on a remote island where they weren't allowed to go anywhere, where our Iosepa people were able to come and go and do things. So just getting it in the context of the time has been a big eye opener for me, because regardless of what they had to face, regardless of what they had to endure, they had one vision, and that was that to gather with the saints and to go to the temple and have their endowments and to be sealed together as eternal families. And really, that's all you have when you leave here. So they had their eyes going in the right direction, and I love them for that. So we hope that not only by this presentation, but by your people coming out to Iosepa, that they'll always be remembered. We come to this stark realization every couple of, or maybe every 10 years in the association, that we're all getting older and we need people to come. We need people to come and to get this heart that we feel and continue the journey so that we don't forget about them. Now, this is one of the last houses that was there at Iosepa. This is my own personal picture, because this is the first year we went there, and I haven't seen this one, but this one was there on the road. You don't get to go up that road anymore, but that was on the road when we came in. And it gave it a credibility to me that somebody actually lived there, somebody was actually here, and the house was really nice. It was old, but you could tell that it was well situated for the family, and had what they needed there. And then as people continue to come, we've also had people start to bury their dead there. And we're still working on how we're actually going to handle this, because the way it is happening right now, we need to do something so that there is enough room for the people that want to be there. I myself personally would like it to be the descendants, but we've already had people that aren't descendants but want to be there. We have a lot of people that come out and do service projects. You'll see them as you come out. You'll notice there's a whole row alongside the statue of the warrior. You'll see there's a whole row of names, and often people think that those are graves, but they're not. It was a project that a gentleman did that he wanted to do. Some of the names aren't spelled correctly, but he had this love in his heart for the people, and he wanted to make sure all of them had a marker. And so that is why that's there. So if you can't find your kupuna, that's a good place to use as an alternative, because this gentleman wanted to make sure that they weren't forgotten. People continue to make presentations, and I have a little qualm a little bit with some of the information that gets put out there. You use your heart to know if those things are true or not, and always get back in your mind that they didn't have a problem with it, and if they did, they left. They weren't required to stay there. They never were forced to go there, and many of them left. If you look at the people that got there at first, you'll find that they're not there at the end, because they were coming and going. And people were coming even from the islands because they heard about Iosepa and the property available and the lots that they could have and the homes that they could have. They wanted those things, and they wanted to be gathered with the church. So whatever you hear, make sure you run that through your heart and run that through your spirit to know whether those things are true or not. And if you don't feel they are, just drop them. You don't have to make an issue out of it. Just drop them and know what you know is right. And then we have the opportunity to also teach one another. And that's a big thing with Hawaiians, and that's what the whole idea of this was, to wala'au, to talk story, to share whatever you learn, you want to share with each other. So Memorial Day was chosen to honor. One reason is because August is horribly hot and dry, and the bugs are there, and Memorial Day is a time set aside to remember our loved ones that have passed. And so we made that a time for us to go and remember the kupuna who lived and died there. So our first focus is to clean up the graves. They're left for the year. And lately we've had a lot of people come and clean them during the year. So, but we want to make sure that those are clean in a respectful and loving way to remember them. And then for some reason, there is a special feeling there. And in our idea, it's because our kupuna are buried there. That land is is their resting place and our place to come find rest. And so we do that. And we feel their presence often. And you'll hear people from time to time talk about an actual presence that they feel. And I had that experience recently when the young single adult group came and did a special ceremony in the graveyard and lit candles for every single one of the graves. And it just felt like there was more than the people that were actually there. So we take that time when we feel those feelings to set ourselves straight. If we come there with problems, we can leave them there because we're not going to have anything that's like what we perceive that they have. And so we take that time and we call that to get ourselves pono, to get ourselves right, so that we can go out, go back home and be healed and move on. So it is a very special and sacred place. And we clean all the graves, not just the ones that with markers, but there are beautiful markers out there if you get a chance to see them. And if you see that second one, that's my kupuna there. Then the next slide is after we clean the graves, then we start the celebration. We do teaching. We teach different things. And in these two pictures, Uncle Wayne is teaching how to play the ukulele. And Reed there is teaching us how to pound poi. And so we have classes, we have lei making classes, we have hula classes, we have ipu making classes. Whatever talents we have to share, we bring them as an offering to unify our group. And there is a unity there that's exceptional. You will want to feel that. And then we all become storytellers, and that's a big thing in Hawaiian culture. That's how you preserve your culture, is to share the stories. Don't let them die. Don't let people forget who those people were and that they mattered and that they are there for you. So this one, we like to share with each other, and we emphasize sharing it with our children, because our children are going to be the carriers of the torch when we're on. And so we need them to have that knowledge. So this family is, I thought I put that other one there, but the mother, Makanoi, Kaluhila'au, came to Iosepa, and Hannah, her daughter, came with her. And Makanoi was planning with her husband to come to Utah once they were able to, and they were ready to come, and then he passed away. And so she and her daughter came, and there came a point where Hannah was actually in 1898. She was asked by the got it on here, the Utah National Council of Women, to go to Washington, D.C. with their group and present to the Congress that the for the Native rights of women, for Native women to vote. And she gave a beautiful speech. And at that time, Queen Liliuokalani had a residence there, and she attended that speech. And after, she had a special gathering for her and all of the contingency with this women's group. And it was people like Cannon and all of the women that Susan B. Anthony and all of the women that were fighting for suffrage rights. So we actually have somebody that was a suffragette. Unfortunately, because we were just a territory, we didn't get it. And we didn't actually get to vote until 1959 when we became a state. But we had the ability, because of her, for our women to be a part of the movement for women's equality. And I thought that was kind of cool. And every year I get a new story. And I love the stories that I learn, and I share them with everybody. There's a particular grave that has John Kalainamoku and his wife Kapukini in it. And that's one that I love to, I assign people to clean graves. And one I love to assign because I love to give it to a young couple who is just starting out, and how the problems they went through, because Kaolainamoku's first wife had leprosy, and so they wouldn't let them get married. They wouldn't let him get married to Kapukini because they didn't want him to give it to her. So they went to Salt Lake and talked to the prophet, and the prophet wrote a letter to the bishop and told him to marry them because they had eternity in mind and not just this life. And when I tell that story, they walk away a different way because they realize that there's a lot of hardships in this world and you'll never know what you'll go through. But if you are looking towards eternity, then it will work. Right. And then we have lots of music. And that's the kind of the thread that sews our lay and bonds us together. We have song and dance from all the different islands, just as they did back in the time of Iosepa. So those top two pictures are two different Iosepa troubadour groups. This was the first one, is the one on the left, and then later on the second one came into existence. And we have people that come because they hear about this group, they want to come. And the other group there at the bottom is Kapalakiko, and they came all the way from San Francisco every year after 1990. From 1990 until their leader passed away. They would come every year at their own expense because they knew about this place and they knew about the Iosepa troubadours. So I put down there for a reason. It's not a gig. So if you want a paying show, you'll need to go find a paying show, because all of us come, whoever performs comes to honor and celebrate and share and contribute to the festival. So we've lost a lot that way, and that's okay, because we know you need to do that sometimes for your living, but we do appreciate those who come to pay tribute to our celebration. And then, of course, our luau on Saturday evening, usually right around 5:30. But we have musical groups. We make our own imu and kalua, our pork, and sometimes we throw other things in there, lau, chicken, different things. But that all comes out around 5 o'clock, and we're ready to eat at 5. That luau is for everyone that is there. We ask that you help by bringing a side dish and a dessert, and bring your own drinks, and so that you can contribute to the luau, just as all Hawaiian celebrations do. And the greatest part of all for me is that it's a place that I can call my own. It's like going home to Hawaii. I was following this thread on Facebook, and it said, if you were given a free ticket to anywhere and $25,000, where would you want to go? And I saw all kinds of places, but every Hawaiian wanted to go home. And it's indicative of how we feel about home. And that's what Iosepa is for a lot of us. It's a place we can go, and we feel like it's ours because our iwi of our kupuna are there. So it makes the land precious and sacred to all of us. So Ben told you a little bit, and this is how you get there. And Memorial Weekend is one time, but I'm the caretaker there, and I go there every couple of weeks, and there's always people there. So if you feel like you want to go there and maybe you can't go on Memorial Weekend, feel free to come out, because you'll get you won't get the luau, but you'll get pretty much the same feeling, the same knowledge, the same appreciation as we do. So you take the I-80 West and take exit 77, and there's actually a Iosepa sign there. You go left and follow that road about 15 miles, and the sign will say, is the one in the middle, Aloha Iosepa. And then you go up that road, and you'll come in through this gate. Elder Uchtdorf won't always be there, but that's the only picture I had at the gate. And we're working on getting that gate back up because it was going down in the wind. But you'll know it when you get there. There's just like you're going through a gap in time or space, because you'll feel it. So we invite you all to be there. We're working on a website. We do have a Facebook page. It's called Iosepa from Hawaii to Utah. All of our information and our announcements are put there. So if you watch that, our website should be out within the next couple of weeks. And then you can get an idea of what we're doing, what's coming up, new ideas that we have. We've been playing with a camp program for groups with a $5 per adult fee. Children are free. And the reason we're doing that is because that money needs to help us fix all those things that we've been working to keep going for the last 20 years, almost 30 years. They don't fix themselves. They don't clean themselves. So they don't run themselves. And we started out with nothing, just awnings and sheets of matting for our stage. And now we've got a beautiful pavilion with electricity and generated from a generator, and we have running water and bathrooms. No more privy holes, or no more porta potties. We've got a running place there, but they're running down. So we appreciate all of you who have contributed in donations to help us. We'll continue as long as we have your help. And we're all in this together. We don't think of this as ours. We think of it belonging to everybody. So I thank you again for letting me be here and tell about Iosepa and invite everybody out, and appreciate this opportunity. So thank you, Elizabeth and Brother Merritt.
Thank you so much, Charmaine. I'm thinking I'm with the majority, seeing that we still have 100 people, that we could sit here all afternoon and hear more stories. And I appreciate, especially you, Charmaine and George, telling your personal stories of your families and your connection to Iosepa and the continuation of life out there. We are short of time. We had scheduled this till 1:30. And so we don't have a lot of time to answer questions. But I would like to propose to Charmaine, many of our attendants today wanted to share stories about their connection to Iosepa and their genealogical connection and their visits. I think this might be a good idea for us to partner as organizations. Elizabeth has their emails. If people want to connect to Elizabeth, and we could form a little group to capture these histories, and perhaps do a shared website where some of this information, as appropriate, could be shared, and collect this great energy that you've had today.
Oh, that would be awesome, because that's what the stories we want to tell. We want to tell the real stories, not somebody's idea of what it might have been.
Yeah, and Again, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This is such an important story, and I look forward to joining you all out there and continuing to find ways to protect and tell this story. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you, especially to our presenters, for sharing today. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you all.
All right. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
We are all his children, undeniably connected, and our one voice comes now from the islands of Hawaii.
Hey, yeah, aloha. Makiala hele o Yesu, e ala vei tahuai. Me ke kanaka o pio hano hano, kaula nai ka vai vai. Pane mai me ka o pio, e kou haku mai kai. E ala hoi kau e ana ahu vei. I loa e ke ola mau ia oe e haave lilo i ko mau vai vai puli ahai mai au i loa e ke ola mau. Let me walk through paradise with you, Lord. Take my hand and lead me there. All my earthly treasure I would gladly give. Teach me how to love, how to share. Greed and lust and vanity were mine, Lord, till I held your love divine. Now on my knees I pray that I will find the way. Let me walk through paradise with you, Yahweh. Oh, my Lord, my Savior, lead me down the lonely, lonely road. Faith, hope, and trust, and charity before me. Let me walk through paradise with you, Yahweh. Ave lilo i ko mau vai vai. Uli ahai mai au i loa e ke ola mau. Let me walk through paradise with you. Aloha, aloha me ke akua.